Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn second chapter of Geography Standard 7, that is the Sun, the Moon and the Earth. From the name only we know that what we will going to learn in that chapter. We will going to learn about the Sun, about the Moon and about the Earth. So as we learn already that Sun, Moon and the Earth are related to each other. How's that? Like Earth is revolving around the Sun and rotating around itself, and the Moon revolving around the Earth and rotating around itself. Directly Moon is not revolving around the Sun but along with the Earth, because Moon is revolving around the Earth and Earth is revolving around the Sun, and that is why indirectly with the Earth Moon is also revolving around the Sun. So the way, the path, right, where that Moon is revolving around the Earth, that path is known as a orbit. So as an orbit of the Earth, in which Earth is revolving around the Sun, as we all know, that is elliptical in the shape. So in the same way, the Moon's orbit, on which that is revolving around the Earth, that is also elliptical in the shape, as you can see on the board. So the distance between the Moon and the Earth is not same everywhere, right? Suppose Moon is here, then distance will be the different. Moon is there, Moon is there, Moon is there. So at every position the distance between the Moon and the Earth is different there. So on which position the Moon and the Earth distance is the closest one, is the minimum, that is known as perigee. And when the Moon is very far from the Earth, the distance between Earth and Moon is the largest one, that is known as apogee. So that is about the rotation of the Moon around the Earth. So you can see now the phases of the Moon. So you can see there are 8 phases of the Moon there. From the new moon day, that means we cannot see the Moon in the sky, right? Because the Moon is exactly between the Sun and Earth, and because of that we cannot see the Moon there in the sky, and that is known as new moon day. So when we start from the new moon day, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and again there is a new moon day. So you can see in the sky a different shape of the Moon, as we all knows that the Moon don't have their own light, right? Moon just reflect the light of the Sun there. So when the sunlight fall on the Moon, so suppose here in the new moon day, sunlight fall on that side of the Moon and Earth is on that side. So Moon cannot reflect the light on the Earth, and that is why only we cannot see the Moon. Again, position 2, Sun is falling the light on that side, only that side reflect the Moon light to the Earth, and that is why from the Earth we can see Moon like that. Like that we came on the full moon, because here from all sides sunlight fall on the Moon, and Moon reflect, all the Moon reflect the light, and that we can see the full moon from the Earth. And again it's going decreases the size, and at the last again we can feel, we have the experience of new moon, that means no moon, right? Without moon, or the whole part of the Moon is illuminated. So that Moon is not reducing and Moon is not increasing, just that illuminated part is reduced and increased there. So when from the new moon to the full moon, that journey is known as waxes, and from the full moon to the new moon, how the Moon reduces the size there, that known as wanes, right? So that is the difference between wanes and waxes there, right? That is they are the 8 positions of the moon, right? From the new moon to the full moon, the size of moon is increases slowly, and again from the full moon to the new moon night, size of moon is decreases slowly. So that's all about the position of the moon. Now we are going to learn about eclipses. So what is mean by eclipses? There are two types of eclipses, that is solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. When a little part of the sun or the full part of the sun hidden behind the shadow, it is known as solar eclipse. And in the same way, when the part of the moon or the full moon is hidden behind the shadow, that is known as lunar eclipse. So how does that lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse occurs, right? What is the reason behind that? That all the things we will learn in that topic. So obviously that solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse both are depend on the position of the sun, moon and the earth. As you can see on the board, there is a sun, there is an orbit of the sun, and in which the earth is revolving around the sun, and there is an orbit around the earth of the moon, on which the moon is revolving around the earth. So that is the position there. So in that situation, most of the time, that means sometimes, what's happening, that earth, sun and the moon, they all are coming in the same plane on the straight line. So in that situation, mostly the eclipse occurs. So we will learn in the next topic the condition of the solar eclipse and the conditions of the lunar eclipse. So the next topic is solar eclipse. So as I told you, as we learned already, that when the sun, moon and the earth, all three planets are come in the same place in the straight line, at that time we experience on the earth solar eclipse. So you can see that is the earth, that is moon and that is the sun. So when you can see that earth, sun and moon all are in the same plane and in the straight line. So what is the position of the sun, moon and the earth for the solar eclipse? So when the moon is come between sun and earth, right? That is the condition of the solar eclipse. So how the solar eclipse occur? When the moon comes in between earth and sun, the shadow of the moons fall on the earth, and on that place they are experiencing the solar eclipse. So solar eclipse again have the two types, total solar eclipse and partial solar eclipse. So you can see the darker part where the darker shadow is fallen down on the earth. That place, you can see that point there, a small point, the rarest thing is that. So that point will face the total solar eclipse, and that remaining, that the part covered with the lines, that will face the partial solar eclipse. So there are the two types of solar eclipse, where the darker shadow is fallen down on the earth. That place experience the total solar eclipse, and the remaining part with the dash as I showed, the light shadow where the followed, and that part will face the partial solar eclipse. So there is a little bit part only on the earth, a small part on the earth will face the total solar eclipse, and as we all knows the reason behind that, you can see that very small point is there, right? So that people will face the total solar eclipse, and remaining that people will face the partial solar eclipse. Apart from that, all people will not see the solar eclipse from their place, right? Because that part is not covered in the shadow of the moon, right? So solar eclipse is the effect of the shadow, right? The shadow of the moon falls on the earth because of the light, and that is known as solar eclipse. I told you about the total solar eclipse and partial solar eclipse. Third and rare part of the solar eclipse is that annular solar eclipse. It is very rare, very rare there, right? After many years we have the experience of that annular solar eclipse. So as we learn already, the total solar eclipse, that means total part of the sun will hidden there. Partial solar eclipse, the some part of the sun will be hidden behind the shadow of the moon. But sometimes what happen, as we see in the positions of the moon, apogee and perigee are the positions of the moon. So sometimes when the moon is in apogee position, that means very far away distance from the earth, and at that time earth, sun and the moon are came into the same plane in the straight line. In this situation the solar eclipse form, and that is known as annular solar eclipse. So how that annular solar eclipse occur? Because as we all know that moon distance is very far from the earth, and that is why only the shadow of that moon is reach in the space only, does not reach exactly on the earth, and that is why the people from that exactly opposite from side from that shadow will have the experience of the annular solar eclipse, and remaining people or remaining part have the experience of the normal partial solar eclipse. But that people have the experience of the annular solar eclipse. And what is annular solar eclipse? Annular solar eclipse, that means a ring shaped solar eclipse. Ever you seen the diamond ring have the round and one diamond is on the top of that ring. So in that shape we can see the annular solar eclipse. I shown there a sparking, or we can say the shiny part like a diamond on the top there, and remaining part is hidden, and only a little bit part like the ring is shining around the corner of that shadow. That is known as annular solar eclipse. Next we are going to learn lunar eclipse, right? The eclipse happens or occurs with the moon, that is known as lunar eclipse. A small part or the full moon is hidden behind the shadow is known as lunar eclipse. So what is the situation of the lunar eclipse? Again, when the sun, moon and the earth are come in the same plane in the straight line, in that situation the lunar eclipse occurs. But what is the position of the sun and moon and the earth? There is, you can see on the board that earth came between the sun and moon, right? Earth came between the sun and moon. In that situation we will have the experience of lunar eclipse. That area have the experience of lunar eclipse because the shadow of the sun is fallen on the moon there, right? And that's why we have the experience of the lunar eclipse on the earth. So again, lunar eclipse is occur on the full moon night only, right? It will not occur any time. It is just we have the experience on only full moon day or full moon night. So again, in the lunar eclipse also, the total lunar eclipse and the partial lunar eclipse, the darker place, the darker side on the earth will face the total lunar eclipse. That means the full moon is hidden behind the shadow, and the remaining part will face the partial lunar eclipse. That means a part of the moon is hidden behind the shadow. So that's all about the lunar eclipse. So eclipse, that is the last point of the eclipse and of that chapter also. That eclipse an astronomical event at many places in the country like India, of our country, in our country also. There are some beliefs, there are some myths according to the eclipses there, right? Eclipses are good, eclipses are bad, right? So but there is nothing good, there is nothing bad in the eclipses, right? In your life in the anyone's life of the on the earth, there is nothing happen due to the eclipses. Yes, the animal and the what we can say, the birds are get confused because of the eclipses sometimes, because they don't have the watch, they don't have any other gadget to see the time there. They are understanding the time with the help of the sun, and when the sun is hidden behind the shadow there, they thought yes, there is a evening and they are coming back to their home, right? So they get confused sometime, but not any bad, not any good effect occurs on anyone's life due to the eclipses, nor by the solar eclipses, not by the lunar eclipses. So that's all the things we already learned in that chapter. So that's it from that chapter, the sun, the moon and the earth. Remaining we will learn in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.